Historically, the fight against animal testing has been a really long fight.
We've gone through a 30 to 35 year history so far.
And it's really been led, I guess, by the public. I mean, it's fair to say there's been animal groups, there's been legislation, there's been science, has all been involved. But the driving force has always been the public.
We've seen public outcry, we've seen publicity in major daily newspapers.
The public had increasing access to information about what happens in laboratories. Millions of animals were dying for the next colour of lipstick or this season's shade of eyeshadow. And the more people found out, the more the public pushed back against that and said that's not on any level acceptable. And all of a sudden, governments started to listen.
We've seen the changing of the European cosmetics legislation. We've seen those bans be enacted, and we've seen the development of alternative tests coming online. So in European terms, the trick now is the using of the alternative tests and getting everybody reliant upon the new technologies and embracing it, and the science coming up to speed to fill in the gaps. So what has taken Europe maybe 35 years to achieve could well be achieved in other countries in maybe 10 years, because there's experience, there's an opportunity to learn from what's happened in other parts of the world, and with the advent of social media and the wider spreading of best practice in scientific terms, the more collaborations, there's an opportunity for all of this to happen at a much faster rate, which is obviously what we're trying to encourage.
The Lush Prize has evolved from a small event in Shoreditch to a large international award held simultaneously in about 3 different continents and with a large international conference attached.
Well, the Lush Prize is Lush attempting to stimulate people to provide alternatives to animal tests. So it was basically a valiant attempt to get something to change.
There needs to be stuff like the Lush Prize adding to the mix, to add some incentive, to give some reward and to push the issue forward, and also to bring a space where people can have those conversations.
I love the fact that we've got people in the room talking to each other from different angles.
The legislators can talk, the scientists can talk, the animal lobbyists can talk together in one room, in one prize, in one space.
And realise that they're all trying to achieve the same thing. And that's really, really magic.
I think when you go to the Lush Prize and you see the marvellous mix of activists and scientists and Lush staff members and the press, it's just fascinating.
And that's where change can happen. When you bring people together with a shared vision of trying to achieve a goal, then there's certainly the possibility then for things to move forward quicker.
The other thing that's really good about the Lush Prize is its geographical spread. We've been able to involve people from all around the world. So we're not just talking about something that's working in Europe, we're not talking about something that has an effect in one particular part of the world, we're talking about something that's worldwide. And that's so pleasing to be involved in something that is actually having an effect around the world.
So there are 5 different categories of Lush Prize. We have science, we have public awareness, we have training, we have young researchers, and we have lobbying. Now, the reason we have 5 categories is because we looked at the barriers to ending animal testing, and we realised that you needed to address all these things at the same time. We needed science to come up with new tests, we needed training so that scientists could learn how to use the new tests, we needed lobbying so the governments could be persuaded to make the new tests compulsory, we needed public awareness so that the governments could be pressured in order to make these changes, and finally we needed young researchers to learn how to discover these new tests early in their careers.
Young scientists who believe in the alternatives and their thinking is not restricted by the older traditional ways, and that they will take on the development and the use of the alternative methods, these new methods. They will be the future. They will get into those positions of authority. They will be the ones giving out the research grants. They will be the ones that will be setting up the studies, and they will be choosing the alternative methods. So this is why we have a great focus on the young scientists, because we believe that they really are the future, and that's why we want to encourage them and recognise their efforts, because we want them to stick with it.
This prize is really important so I can develop the project, so the money will be used to buy all the ingredients, the reagents for the test.
I'm feeling very honoured to receive this award. It means a lot to me, and the prize money will really help my research in the future.
So a black box in science is where something happens but you don't understand why it happens. And the Black Box Prize was the idea that Lush could make a breakthrough award if a really significant level of understanding was achieved.
So my hopes for the future with regards to animal testing is that there won't be any. Not only will there not be any animal testing, but that we will stop relying on the old data that's out there, which is holding us back.
The aim for the future has got to be that you can buy a product safe in the knowledge that a thorough regime has gone on to check things.
There will come a time where people will look back and think, what on earth were they thinking back then? Why did they think that safety could be evaluated on animals, human safety could be evaluated on animals?
Sometimes people are fearful of natural things because they don't think they've been thoroughly tested. But these more sophisticated tests can take on all the natural essential oils, all the natural herbs and things like that, and give us a very clear result. Personally, I've always despised the animal tests for what they allow to happen.
Because it is primitive, it's cruel, it's clumsy, it's not very scientific. The sooner we get rid of it, the better.
I would like to see a higher standard in public health as a result of the Lush Prize. That's what I would like to see.